let's get it going. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go! Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. It is 10 p.m. Thursday evening, and we are here live on Studio A. Yeah, you've waited all week for the most cutting-edge topics and guests, and now it is time to deliver. That's right, it's the Stephen D. Kelley Show with your host, Stephen D. Kelley.
Good evening. Welcome to the show. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. My name is Stephen D. Kelley. It is Sunday night. It is 7:01 here on the West Coast. 10:01, I suppose, on the East Coast, assuming the clock is right. Well, 7 o'clock, according to my computer. So, welcome to the show. This is Revolution Radio, www.freedomslips.com. And I will talk more about that in a moment. This is probably, I am going to tell you right now, going to be one of the most important shows, if not the most important show I have ever done, and perhaps the most important show in history from the standpoint of its ability to impact the entire world and the entire outcome of what we perceive as reality as of today. So, I am going to launch into a campaign, and I am going to start with a show tonight. And of course, I've had a couple appearances in other people's shows where I've started to talk about this. And if you follow me on Facebook, you'll know that what's going on. If you look at my advertising, obviously the advertising for the show tonight has been very explicit about the subject matter, and included a lot of material. Problem is, of course, is that if you've been paying attention, you will also know that Facebook has shut off my account, which is pretty incredible. So that should be a tiny, tiny, tiny indicator to you of just how incredibly important this information is, and how terrified the powers that be are about this particular mission and this operation that I am launching. So, anyway, if you know me, you'll know that my life is dedicated to this, and you'll know that this particular subject matter is very close to my heart, and it's something that I've been talking about, and it was the key basis to my coming out public here, whatever it was, in 2002, or I believe it was, 2002, November or something, 2002. And the point is that this is destiny. This was meant to happen. And I've talked about this a lot of Revolution Radio, and I know a lot of people don't really talk about it or pay any attention, and it's yada, 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 and it's fun and drama, and it's like, ooh, wow. But now we have a situation that's very public, and obviously it's something that affects the Revolution Radio audience, and many people close to Revolution Radio are affected by this, and that is the situation with the people in Oregon and their attempts to draw attention to the crimes of the government and the BLM in their particular situation through the occupation of that building and the subsequent death of Mr. Finicum. Well, I'm going to expect denial of service tonight, so watch out for that. If we lose, right now I'm just waiting for the computer to go off. So it's funny, my computer's already starting to act up. We're still on the air, right, Keith?
We're all good right now.
Okay, so far so good. Oh, gee, okay, all right. It hasn't happened yet. It happened the other night when I was on the air, Terry's show, I think it was. As soon as I started going off on this one, this heavy into the subject matter, they cut us off for a significant amount of time. But anyway, hopefully that's not going to happen tonight, but I will repeat myself as many times as it takes. Okay, that's what's important. And if I don't get the message out tonight, I will probably, this is what is going to be happening on my shows for a long time until this happens, okay? Because my program is dedicated to basically saving the world, saving my country and saving the world. And if you've not been paying attention, if you let me clue you in. We are at war. Okay, we are at war. Our government has declared war against us. They have not done it they have not gone on the air on CNN and said we are declaring war against the American public. But trust me, they have done this. So a lot of people understand this. A lot of people are very angry and confused, and a lot of and very sad, whatever, disillusioned. And a lot of this is emotions. And the first thing I have to tell everybody, of course, is to control these emotions. And the next thing I want them to all do is to channel this anger into something constructive. Now, getting your guns and trying to shoot up the closest federal building, whatever it is that you're talking about, it's like shooting yourself in the foot. These are your own assets. Everything that you look around and see is yours, including the homes of the enemy, if you will. So I can't sit by and wait for the next Bundy, self-appointed whatever, to go out there and decide what worthless piece of real estate is going to be the place to make the stand against the crimes of our government. It just happens to be out in the middle of nowhere where they can use these weapons and keep everybody away from it. It's kind of stupid from strategic PR, everything else. Anyway, I've got a better idea. That's what this is really all about. What I'm trying to do is reach out tonight to all of the so-called patriots, all of the good Americans, all of you. I want a big tent. I want people to work together. I don't want people to judge each other, but I want everyone to be sincere in their desire to solve the problem once and for all. Now, one of the most important aspects of having to pull this off is ego. Of course, we're all programmed to think that we got it figured out and that nobody can tell us what to do and everything else. And yeah, fine, okay, great. You don't need somebody telling you what to do. I get it. If you have a better idea, that's great. But I'm going to tell you this idea. It has to happen because it's destiny. I'm very confident that this is going to happen because I've seen it happening. And before I even saw it happening, I was told that it was going to happen by the people involved. If that isn't programming, I don't know what is. But let me get to this point. When you have to look at this as you can almost look at this as a fairy tale or even a movie. If you look at a movie of a revolutionary type situation, Robin Hood, or any kind of a movie like that, where the evil King Richard or whatever is being taken out, it's always a matter of storming the castle and entering the inner sanctum of the castle and fighting everybody in there and basically taking out the king in his throne. That's how you overthrow it. It doesn't have it. And I'm not talking about the White House when I'm talking about castles. And again, I'm not even talking about using violence. We're going to talk about this extensively here in the next 2 hours. But the point is, it's the same. The people that are overtaking that castle, they're not burning each other's homes and shooting up their town and destroying their local bakeries and butchers and meeting houses and what have you. They're focusing on that castle because you've got the entire country and you've got everybody living in shacks, and then you've got that one castle up on that hill. And this is a very, very powerful euphemism or not even a metaphor, because it's a parallel with what we have here in society today. And in this case, we still have this castle, just like we did before, only we don't see it. It's underground. And of course, like in the old days, there's not just one castle, they're scattered about. They're usually connected, but these castles now are all underground. And they're just like the castles of old. They have drawbridges, they have moats, they have defenders, all that sort of thing. Now, if you want to complain about the king and you want to do all this and you're going to run around the countryside and destroy everything and get shot up and get poisoned like cockroaches with chemtrails and who knows what, UN troops, everything else. Or if you're one of the fools that think that you can pull out your cell phone and use it to vote harder and bring in change, make America great again, or I don't know what any of all these slogans are, but there's quite a few of them. Change you can believe in. That's one of them, I think. This is the thing. All right, back to the subject. Now, again, bear in mind, if you know me, and I'm going to have to do a few things tonight. I'm going to have to go through a little bit of history about this stuff. I'm going to tell you as quick as I can the objective and why. Then I'm going to tell you, I'm going to describe to you the operation, how it has to go down, and I'm going to try to give everybody as much information as possible for forming the necessary networking and organization to pull this off. Now, it's very important to understand is that whether or not I'm involved, and that means if I don't make it for whatever reason, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. If they wanted to stop this thing, they would either make me go away or restrain me somehow so that I couldn't be participating. So people have to all basically work together, and they have to all do this together. So I'm going to try to lay this out in such a way that they can do that. Okay. Well, first of all, we're talking about the Getty. Okay. And of course, if you know me and you know anything about my background, you'll know that I did the whole NSA CIA thing. And eventually I got to the point of finding out that they had this big underground thing over there at the Getty, this big city under there. And this particular bunker underneath the Getty isn't just any bunker. There's at least 250 of these things scattered across the country, or at least scattered across the United States. But this particular bunker is the one that is set up for the Queen and the royal family. They will go there along with a whole lot of other elites. There's this one in particular is set up to be I want to say a Disneyland, but more of a Caligula-type inspired paradise for the ultra-elite. And the Queen, of course, being the Queen of the ultra-elite, will be taking up residence there also. So naturally, all the artwork is certainly something that they want to have when they do that. But as I've said in my book, and I've said publicly for quite some time now, this is the weak link in the entire system. And I know this is because they basically sat down with me and said that they were concerned about what I was going to do, about how I was going to raise a militia army and take this place out and assault the Getty. And this is pretty fantastic considering that I was not a militia leader and I was not into anything like that. However, at the same time, I was in the business, so I was involved in the technology in such a way that they were actually afraid that I was going to do that. And of course, because of my association with these people, I did actually try to put together plans for such an operation. And of course, we're talking James Bond, we're talking the ultimate video game, and we're going to talk about all of that soon. However, I saw the whole love and light thing, and I got on that path, and I realized that there's other ways of dealing with this particular issue, such as the psychic aspects and the whole love and light approach, which also brings out the whole super soldier thing and the astral projection and all that fun stuff. That's also something that's going to be coming involved. But the bottom line is that here you have a castle, and everybody is going to, what they're going to do, everybody listening, first of all, if you're listening, I hope you're listening not just because you're going, oh, I want entertainment, but I hope you're listening because you want to be involved, okay? And I hope you're listening because you understand that this is it. I'm serious. This is it. And if you want to do anything to fix this country, this is it. This is how we're going to do it without firing any shots and without attacking anybody. Now, bear in mind, that's not to say that we may not have a place for that. but I'll get to that. But this is what we're going to do right now, and it does not involve weapons of any kind. All right? Okay, first of all, the reason why the Getty is a big secret is because this fortress on top of the mountain is a public building. It allows people to walk around to get up there. It's very controlled, of course. They're trying to control it for obvious reasons. It is a fortress. But it houses the entrance to the secret elevator that goes into the big giant network underground, which is essentially a metropolis, as well as essentially a way station for transports to points beyond. And not to mention that it also has a substantial amount of satanic sacrifice and horrific, horrible torture being carried out against humans for the benefit of these people who just happen to worship Satan. So if you like it or not, that's the thing. But see, this is the catch. This is the big thing. They have to hide that. Now, when it comes to underground bunkers, if you want to complain about the one underneath the White House or something like this, or the one underneath the one of the Denver airport, whatever, you can't go say, oh, yes, we need to have access to this. They could say continuity of government. They cannot say continuity of government because this is a private facility. So we need to rip the mask off of this. And when you look at all the problems with the cover, everyone has issues with various problems. There's criminal behavior going on in the United States beyond compare. The corruption is just beyond measure, if you will. And we can all sit here for eons complaining about the crimes of this individual, that government official, or this evil sheriff, or this FBI agent, yada, 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 this Hillary, that Obama, whatever. They're all bad. They're all bad. But what do we do? What do we do? Everybody wants to do something. Okay, guys, this is what we do. This is the one thing of all the things that we could do. This is the one thing we got to get together on, because this is the one thing that strikes at their heart that will kill them, to slay their beast. Slay the beast completely. Shut down the entire everything. And not only will it shut everything down, but it will yield huge treasure and a huge technology benefit. It will be like massive revelations. All these people that talk about disclosure, you want disclosure, I will give you disclosure beyond your wildest dreams. But this is how we're going to do it. Okay, so basically the bottom line is we're going to occupy the Getty Museum or the Getty Center on top of Santa Monica Mountain. And I heard someone say, oh, I'm not sure. I don't understand why that's important. Da, 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 da. Okay, right now you don't need to understand. What you need to understand is that this is going to be a death blow. This is not MacArthur Park. This is not Times Square. This is not some silly whatever. This is really it. Let me try to put it this way. If the Queen of England or the Rothschilds had a secret home base, the Bilderbergers, the Illuminati, they had a secret home base, and all you had to do was show up at the door of this one secret home base and point the spotlight of the media and the spotlight of everybody's gaze and the truth, and you shine that light right on it, you'll burn a hole right into it. There's nothing they can do about it. Now I'm going to talk about this, and this is so important that this one thing that I'm talking about doing, it may seem like just some madcap idea, but it's not. This is something that is so historic that they have been watching for this to happen for 100 years at least. They've been watching for this one event, and they've seen it, and there's nothing they can do about it. And it's going to happen because we're going to make it happen. And the only thing that can stop it right now is us not doing it. So I'll get into the more of the details and I'll describe everything. But again, this particular entrance to the underground is vulnerable because it's right there. It's right in the open. There's no protection. We can occupy this area and we can make the world say, look, here it is. And we can tell the world that underneath this location, they are keeping hundreds of children captive, kidnapped children captive for torture and human sacrifice. That's all we have to do. We are occupying the area because we want to see the hundreds of humans, especially children, released that are being kept for torture and human sacrifice. What are they going to do? They say, what? What children? What are you talking about? How could you say this? That's crazy. Who told you there's children being tortured there? What are you talking about? They have to go down there and they have to show us. They have to open the door. Prove there's no children. Open the door. Show us. Show us it's a lie. Now, you see, the thing is the Getty is so afraid of this that they will do anything to keep it quiet. And just as an example, obviously this thing with me getting shut down at Facebook, that is the biggest thing that they've been able to do so far. But it's really it's really not that big of a deal. I'll tell you, if anyone else they know about the Getty, if you use a Getty image on the internet, they will get you. The attorneys will jump all over you and they'll charge you money and sue you for using this image without their authorization. Well, I've been using the image of the whole museum on the cover of my book, and they haven't said anything. And that's one of the things that you really are not allowed to do. And yet they have not done that. Whether or not I find out if that's one of the reasons why they took me off Facebook, I'll find out. But point being is that they are so afraid of this particular type of spotlight being shined on them that they have no option other than to remain absolutely silent. So all this screaming and talking that I've been doing about saying that there's an underground base and that they're committing human sacrifice has it's spread a little bit, but it hasn't spread to the point to where they would react. Now, from what I understand, the only thing that will cause them to react is a really large mob of people. Okay. And this is really important because I talk about this in the Protocols. The Protocols of Learned Elders of Zion, of course, is a controversial book, and if you haven't read it, you're going to have to. But the point is in that particular book, they talk about the Metropolitans, and the Metropolitans, of course, are the undergrounds, and of course, I talk about this in the book. But they say that they have no fear of the Goyim or the mob rising up against them because their staunchest weapon is none other than the Metropolitans or the undergrounds. And should such time arise, whereas the mob is rising up against them, they will set off explosives at these locations, and they will destroy the capitals of the West, including their treasures and archives. So in this particular situation, treasures and archives would be all the artwork and the Western culture stored at the Getty. And of course, what this means is that they have a nuclear bomb stashed there at the Getty, and that if for any reason, say like 10,000 of us were to converge on that place, they have that ability to do that. And the idea is to keep us from getting down into their elevator, and because if we were able to take control of their elevator and get down into the underground, we could pollute their entire system, because their whole world down there is that. And everything is dependent on their ability to keep the access to these undergrounds secure. So everything that we can imagine, everything you can imagine, that's where it is. If you want to liberate this country, you have to gain access to the undergrounds. Now, that's where the militia is going to come in, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Again, I've had sit-downs with these guys from the Getty, high-ranking people, and they basically expected me to show up there with a small army of commandos with armor head to toe. And of course, back in those days, I was selling armor bulletproof raincoats. So they expected that they would get assaulted with a bunch of guys with London fogs, bulletproof London fogs. and naturally, I realized, of course, even if I did have superior firepower that would allow me to get past the initial defenses all the way into the security zone and down to the elevator, et cetera, that the amount of technology and secret weapons that they would throw at me would be mind-boggling. And of course, this is when I came to the conclusion that the only way to really deal with these guys was going to be by the use of psychics. Now, if you've read my book, you'll know that if you do go down the elevator, there's at least 200 Nazi psychics at one of the first locations you reach. And of course, they're there for the exact purpose I'm talking about right now. But that's one of the only ways that you can penetrate this. Of course, as I was getting into the whole love and light thing, I thought, well, what I need to do is maybe get hundreds of psychics to just go up there and we'll all kick back and give them a bunch of love and light. And I'm thinking that might be exactly the thing that we need to do. Now, not so much of a love and light sit-in, although there is some major benefit to doing that. We'll discuss that, the metaphysical aspects of this whole thing shortly. But this is the thing. If we do that, if we could get enough people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, something like that, to converge on this place, something like a flash mob, if you will, and think of it in terms of a flash mob, because really that's what we're talking about here. If we were able to all get to this location, and I'll describe all the logistics and everything necessary to make that happen, but basically if we were able to occupy just the area of the fire road going up and the general vicinity of the, I'll call it the patio area at the top of the tram, where everybody dumps out when they arrive at the top. This is the most important area. This is at below the entrance of the museum. There's a stairway that goes up towards the main museum and the main, where all the artwork is. And we don't even need to get there, because when you get off the tram, just to the right is the entrance to the security, and this is where you go to get to the underground. And this is where everybody goes that's involved, all the NSA guys, everybody else. This is when they get off the tram, this is where they go. They don't go up into the the museum. They go into this funny little area where it leads down into the fun stuff downstairs. So think of this as an ultimate commando operation. And I'm going to start out right now. I'm going to start describing the location a little bit. And then I'm going to describe how this operation is going to have to work. And then I'm going to talk about how people are going to have to organize to get this done. All right, so let's first talk about the place itself. Okay, the Getty, of course, is just located on the west side of the 405 freeway, which is also known as the San Diego Freeway, which is the freeway that one would use if they were going to go to the LA airport. And it also obviously connects to the 5 down south and goes to San Diego and runs into the valley if you're heading north. But as it goes over the Santa Monica Mountain right there into the valley, before it reaches a peak, you pass by the Getty, and of course you can't miss the Getty up there on top of the hill off to the side. There's an off-ramp, of course, which is called the Getty Center Drive. Very small off-ramp. Once you get off, it drops you off on the eastern side of the freeway. There's a small street there on the eastern side of the freeway, which you have to take backtrack a little bit towards LA, and then it goes under the hill of the freeway, which not under the hill, but actually goes underneath the 405 freeway up to the gates of the Getty. Now, if you'll the gate of the Getty, of course, is a substantial structure, concrete, whatever it is, stonework, with two pathways for an in and out drive. I believe it's one car, it could be two cars. But there are big steel gates that are opened and closed, of course, and these aren't closing and opening all the time, but they're opened up. They're certainly locked, closed when the facility is shut down. So one of the biggest keys to this entire operation is going to be, of course, when people are converging. Obviously, this is not a big secret. Unlike, when they were talking to these Bundy guys, like, gee, why did you go do this thing without talking to us on Revolution Radio first? And they go, oh, well, because we wanted the element of surprise. Well, you know what? We're not going to have the element of surprise. And you know what? We never did have the element of surprise because these guys have crystal balls and they've seen this thing coming for 100 years. Let me fill you in. What they haven't seen coming is they haven't seen exactly how we're going to do it. They know we're going to do it, but we're going to do it in a way that's a little bit different than what they're expecting. This is what's important to making this work. Anyway, so the entire Getty Center, of course, is surrounded by, it's up on a hill. It's way on top of a hill. It's a big fort, way on top of a hill. At the bottom of the hill, there is the entrance, of course, and the entrance leads into a big concrete underground parking garage. Now, of course, if you bypass the big concrete parking lot, there's a little fire road. Fire road, of course, is just a little two-way street that goes, it's very small, little two-way street that goes straight up the hill to the very top. But otherwise, that's the only road to get up there, and that is not for human consumption. That's just for a fire road. So when you get out of the big parking lot, of course, you have to go to the elevator, and the elevator takes you up to where the tram picks up the passengers. And of course, where that is, they have their first layer of security where they check people for, they scan them, I guess, slightly. Not that much of a big deal. And then they feed you on the tram, and the tram takes you up the hill in a nice southerly direction. And you'll notice it also runs, the little fire road will run up alongside where the tram goes. And if you look on the satellite images, or the images that I supply on Facebook, of course, which you probably can't see anymore, but you'll have to get them yourself. You'll have to Google Getty Center and find them yourself. You'll see that that's a nice little trip up to the top of the hill via either the fire road. They'll let you walk the fire road if you don't want to take the tram. Not that many people do. Some people walk down it, but most people take the tram up. Anyway, when the tram dumps you out, the doors actually open up to the right side of the tram. They load it from the left side, and they dump you out on the right side. There's a big patio area, if you will, and everything is covered with a travertine. And we'll talk about the travertine, if you will, travertine, T-R-A-V, something like travertine. I apologize to all the people who I misspelled that to, but anyway. That is the area that we want to occupy. Behind that tram, where you get out, where all of that patio area is the entrance to the security section. Okay. And, of course, it has big concrete walls covered with this thick fossilized marble material, thick layers of fossilized marble. Now I'm just going to mention here real quick, I know I've said this on the air many times, but hopefully you guys if you haven't heard this before, you're listening, but the entire building, pretty much, most of the surfaces are covered with very, very thick layers of this travertine marble imported from Italy, huge amounts of it. And the travertine, of course, has being a fossilized marble, it's extremely hard. And so it has ceramic qualities that are very similar to the type of stuff they use in the ceramics they use in armor to defeat the armor-piercing bullets and what have you. Now, if you consider that a piece of ceramic that goes into a typical level 4 vest is something like an inch thick or less, if you will. These walls, my gosh, they're probably more like 6 inches thick all over the place, no less than 6 inches. So every inch of this place is covered with it. Now, the building is set up to defend assault. It really is. And it's not to defend the artwork. The artwork, of course, provides cover for an excuse to defend the building, mainly. That's what it is. And the artwork also provides a fitting excuse or an alibi for the purchase and acquisition of massive amounts of artwork from the Western world and the ancient antiquity, and the storage of this. I'll say one thing here real quick. I'm going to throw this in a little bit of a tangent, but there's a lot of people out there, they're always talking about the Vatican. They talk about Vatican this and Vatican that, and what's under the Vatican. Well, there's really not much under the Vatican, because anything that was worthwhile that was under the Vatican is no longer there. It's over at the Getty Museum. This is what we're talking about right now. Okay, so anyway, let me just go on a quick review real quick. The object here of what we're talking about is to get 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people, whatever, a mob of people flooded into this Getty. I want to have so many people that this area that I've described, this little road, as well as this whole patio, is completely covered with people. I don't want anybody going above the stairs. I don't want anybody going into the museum. I don't want anybody getting into the artwork. We are not there to vandalize, destroy, pillage, or whatever. That's a distraction. We don't need to. In other words, you have this entire big castle sitting there, but before you even enter the castle, there's a little door off to the left, and that's the door to the real castle underneath the big castle. Because that big castle up there, it's actually the prison for all the artwork being held captive by the people that live underneath it. And that's the stuff that they're going to blow up if we attack. Now let's say, let's go back to this operation here. Obviously, this has to happen, and obviously there must be some fear of this happening, because this is why my Facebook has been shut down, and I'm not surprised. And I don't see this as a problem to pull this off. But what I need are people to get involved and have faith and start doing this right away without asking a lot of questions and thinking about what we're trying to do. But I'll tell you one thing here real quick that you should all keep in mind, is that anybody that pulls something like this off, that goes onto this Getty property, that does a peaceful sit-in at this Getty property, there will be absolutely no prosecution, because the Getty has a history of not prosecuting anybody that does anything like this. And I'll tell you, people that I know, in fact, whoever it is I know that knows this person, they may call it and verify this. But I remember when I was doing my tour, that my guys told me that someone actually crashed up that road, that fire road, in a car and smashed into that staircase and said something about Jesus sending them and Satan and everything else and all kinds of stuff, kind of like what we're talking about here. And they didn't do anything. The person wasn't prosecuted, wasn't charged. So point is that they are so worried about publicity that they won't do it. Again, though, they do have an army here. Don't get me wrong. Underneath in this security area, they do have an armory. They have an arsenal. They have many, many machine guns. And they have many personnel working there who are trained, who are veterans, who are former NSA employees, current NSA employees, CIA employees, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The security, the nighttime security, from what I understand, is actually CIA. If you were trying to assault this building at night and do a midnight assault of something of this nature, trying to climb the hill and take over like that, their perimeter will be defended by CIA personnel. The dogs that they have defending the perimeter that they, of course, keep away during the day, but the ones that are roaming the perimeter at nighttime are trained in Yugoslavian. Okay, so if you would like to be able to control those dogs, you need to understand Yugoslavian and be able to issue commands in Yugoslavian, unless they've changed it. I don't think so. That's how you deal with the dogs. But, so forget about this commando assault. Let's focus on the peaceful one. Now, bear in mind, they already think that I'm a militia leader. They've always thought I was a militia leader. And they've always seen in their little crystal ball that somehow I would be involved in leading a militia onto this location. Now, I talk about the first wave, well, don't be in the first wave, whatever. Well, okay, I'm ready to be in the first wave right now. I don't care. But what needs to happen is a peaceful demonstration. And, to be quite honest with you, even if it only happened for a day and they came back and repeated this process, if you can get the media up there and you can draw public attention to it, and the best case scenario is that they actually have to relinquish and allow people to actually go down there and look. Ultimately, the ultimate prize is that we can force them to allow us and the whole world to see these elevators and to go down there and see what's below on those elevators. And at the very least, this is the can of worms. This is the top of the can of worms. We want to pull the top off the can of worms. This will stop everything. All this election charade that's going on with these silly candidates and the worried about this candidate being better than that candidate, forget about it. The stuff that's going on in Oregon, forget about it. Everything that's going on, forget about it. This is it. This is what will really happen. We need, especially in the truth industry, we need to control the dialogue. And it's time to stop wasting time. And it's time to take control of the dialogue. And it's time to forcibly occupy this location so that we can point the dialogue at this. And we can say, what is this? Open up this. Let us into this. Show us this. Explain this. Prove that we're wrong. And let the whole world see that. And that's the thing, is that the burden is on them. The burden is on them to prove that any of this is wrong. And this is just like Occupy, where everybody blew it because everybody's got grievances and they all want to articulate every single one of their little grievances as if all these grievances had to be addressed. But the key here is that we all have motives and we all have agendas, that's fine. But the key here is the objective. And the objective will only be achieved if we have a cohesive, coherent attack. And in this case, of course, our words, our sound bites, our passion has to be cohesive. And how you even feel about it is really irrelevant, because what's important is that the masses will have to respond and the media will have to respond. It's an emotional power button. They would do it. It's using their power against them. And if you want to drive a stake through their heart, this is how we do it. Now, what are the alternatives? People think, let's say we do this. First of all, out of all the people listening, whoever's close, I mean, I don't care what you have to do. We'll make a plan. We'll make this happen. And of course, I need you to spread the word. I want there to be a hashtag Occupy the Getty. That's Getty. Occupy the Getty. We have to spread that. Of course, because I'm not on Facebook, I need every one of you to get rabid about this stuff. Rabid about it. And I need everybody to be fearless. All right. I hope I've given you some example of what that's like. But anyway, very, very, very important. Now, again, back to, let me just, we've still got plenty of time, but I'm going to give you some scenarios here real quick. People talk about parking. People talk about details. Again, this is a freeway with an off-ramp that leads to a little road that basically leads to an entrance that leads to a big parking structure that leads to a tram, all right, which leads to treasure on top of the hill. So this is how the operation is going to go down. With high precision, one of the first things that's going to happen is somebody is going to have a vehicle that they are willing to do this to, and they are going to drive that in there, and they are going to make sure they're going to stop that vehicle in the passageway so that that gate cannot close. That's the first thing that has to happen. Once that vehicle is under the gate, we want bodies flowing through it. We don't want vehicles flowing through it because we don't need your vehicle in their parking lot. We don't need your vehicle on the freeway. We don't need your vehicle parked wherever. We'll discuss that. But what we want is your body. We want at least one vehicle, possibly two, we'll figure that out, keeping the gate open long enough that we can get 10,000, 1,000, whatever people through it without having to cut the gate down. It's a substantial gate, steel gate. We'd rather not have to do that. But like any drawbridge, like any assault on a castle, we know, if anybody's seen Prince of Persia or any of these silly castle, movies, you'll know that, hell, Lord of the Rings, it's all the same thing. You got to get that gate open. Well, in this case, the gate is open because they keep it open to let the people into the museum, and all we got to do is keep it open long enough to where we can occupy it. So what I suspect is we're going to need to have teams. So if you're listening right now, this is what you're going to do. You're going to form a team, people that you trust. You're going to have a little team leader. You're going to have a team driver. And you're going to have everyone else in your team, occupiers. Your leader, of course, is going to be the one responsible for instigating the entire thing and for leading everybody up the hill and keeping everybody motivated and for communicating with me, et cetera, or whoever else is assuming charge. Your driver, basically, is going to be the person that's going to ferry you and all of your little goodies, your people, up to that entrance of that thing, let you pile out the door and run up the hill and drive away and go stand by, wait for instructions. That's how it's going to work. So the driver will not even be involved in this operation, but they will have one of the most important jobs, and that is going to be to deliver the people, the occupiers, to the place. Now, whether or not everybody wants to take the freeway off-ramp and get off the freeway and go through that nonsense and drop people off and then get back on the freeway, I don't know. And I'm not going to suggest that anybody should bring a pair of bolt cutters and cut a hole in the fence on the freeway right there at the nearest area to the opening of the Getty Museum. But I think that it would only probably take one person to do that. And if one person was able to do that, you could probably have quite a few people able to pull over at the side of the freeway briefly, at least on the slow lane, dispense their passengers as quick as possible through the passenger side of the vehicle, and take off, kind of like a Chinese fire drill. But if this thing is organized, you can move a lot of individuals this way. This is going to have to be done this way because this is the only way we're going to have this ability to pull this off without them closing the gate. So remember, keeping the gate open for all of us to arrive is key. Once that vehicle blocks that gate, people need to be flowing. Because the only thing they can do at that point is block the gate. Some people, during the initial movement, somewhere along the line, they're going to bring super soaker squirt guns. And in those super soaker squirt guns, they're going to mix some water-soluble paint. And when they walk up that little fire road, they're going to squirt the cameras. And trust me, there's a lot of cameras. And every camera has more than one camera. So we're going to squirt all those little cameras. Those are just the cameras facing the fire road. They don't need to see what we're doing because we're going to be occupying that area. Of course, once those cameras have been squirted, you can toss the super soakers. There's no need to hold on to it. Just make sure they're bright orange so nobody acts like they're a gun. And again, like I said, We're going to get up there. We're going to occupy all that area. I don't think we need to control the tram traffic. We could go ahead and control the tram traffic. And I don't even think we're going to try to occupy the security area, but we are going to certainly take up a lot of space. And we're going to make it so that any tourist or any news helicopter or any of the local national news is going to have to talk about it. And then unlike Occupy, we're going to have a cohesive message. Free the children. What children? The children that are downstairs, underground, at the bottom of that elevator over there. What elevator? That one down there. Where? Through that doorway. What are you talking about? Go through the doorway. Go check it out. Take us with you. Don't come back without the children. They say they don't have any children. They do. They're lying. We're not leaving until we free the children. This is humiliating. They can't do this. This is kind of like if you were able to occupy Buckingham Palace and say, dig up the bodies of little children. Only they do dig up bodies of little children at Buckingham Palace and nobody does anything. But let me tell you, if we did this, they would do something. Now, again, if this is successful, you think, what is this going to change? How is this going to change the U.S. government? How is this going to change anything? It will change everything because it will wake up the average person to the fact that 50% or more of the gross national product has gone into building bunkers for the elite for the last 50 years, that these people are Satanists, that they kidnap children and innocent people, and they torture them, and they sacrifice them to Satan and who knows what else. They'll find out that technology is being used 100 years in advance of the technology that we're using now. They'll find out that everything is covered in gold, that there's priceless treasure everywhere. So the pure greed in all these surface dwellers should be enough to make them want to go down there and loot this place. And this is why they built the fortress, and this is why they have the army, and this is why they're ready to nuke it if that ever happened. But we're going to call this bluff. If we go up there and peacefully occupy this area, and we shine the light on truth on it, there's the chances of them forcibly trying to remove everybody are pretty much nil. If nobody does anything violent, there's really nothing. If we get our media objectives covered, the people talk about it, and everybody knows that this is going on, and the next thing you know, we've got, I mean, my God, it has to happen. But you see, the thing is like I've said, these people at the Getty, they know it's coming. They're expecting it to happen. They know that it's destiny that all of this Bilderberger satanic activity on Earth is going to be challenged, and it's going to start with an assault on the Getty, this particular location. They know this. Out of all the other locations, they don't have this fear, but they do have the fear that this is the one that's going to get attacked, and they know that this is the one that is the easiest to do it, and we don't need to have guns. Now let's say, for instance, that, worst case scenario, let's say, we could look at all sorts of scenarios. Let's say they took a bunch of people from the surface and they said, okay, we'll show you the elevator, and they take you down the elevator and they never come back up. All right, then you guys with the militia, then you could come there and you could lay it on. All right, that's where you lay it on. You guys all want to go play cowboy? You want to start shooting it up? This is where you do it. Okay? Now let me tell you something about this particular location from that standpoint, from a shooting 'em up standpoint. Again, remember, everything's bulletproof. All this tavertine, you're not going to be able to penetrate. I don't care what you're shooting. You're not going to be able to pierce these walls. There's gun positions all over the darn thing. It really is built like a fortress. And again, my pictures were taken off Facebook, but a lot of the pictures I took show pillboxes, concrete pillboxes built into high ground areas of this building. And when I talk about the perimeter, not only does the perimeter have very steep hills with some relatively uniform low brush, it's also, if you are able to climb the top of the hill, there are walls, a good 2-story high walls, again covered in travertine, that you would have to scale also. So it's just ridiculous. And again, the compound where the CIA guys stay, the ones that protect the perimeter, is completely separate from the Getty. It's actually located just slightly behind it on a hill in a little, looks like a small home. Oh, there's our break. Okay, guys, we'll be right back. I hope you had fun. Don't go away. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
And now we return you to your host.
All right, everybody. I hope you're taking me serious here. Okay. I pretty much spit this out, and I'm going to keep doing it. And if you got any questions, you can call. But again, like I said, I want to take some massive cooperation. I want to get a bunch of people to do this. I want people to converge on this location. Again, think of this as a peaceful little sit-in, and that's it. But it's a peaceful little sit-in that could actually change the whole history of the world, not just fix every problem in the United States, but actually fix the entire world. Worst case scenario is that they let off a nuke and kill us all. But either way, we're going to force them to do it. So in other words, they've been threatening that if we ever rise up and do this, that they will push the button and start the end. And I think that it's a bluff. I think that this is the way we do it. And anything else that we do is a waste of time and a waste of blood. So before anybody, especially all you patriots, go out and rise up and try to get into a shooting war with your own fellow Americans, don't do it. Let's do this instead. All right. We have a call-in number. It's 928-202-4608. And I know there's a bunch of people listening. And my God, a lot of you people that were listening on Facebook, well, people who followed me on Facebook that thought that I woke up this morning and saw I wasn't around, thought I blocked you. You have my permission to call and say hello at this point. And let's talk about it, because we really do need to network. Okay, if we ever need to network, this is it. Okay, so this means that one of the things I want you to do, of course, I'm expecting to get my Facebook back, but there's a possibility I won't. Okay, I mean it's always surprised me that I was allowed to do what I was allowed to do, and what I'm doing right now is nothing less than the biggest thing I've ever done before, and possibly the most destructive thing I could ever do to the Illuminati and the Bilderbergers and the New World Order. So if you're really serious about fighting the New World Order, and it's not just because of some greedy, they took this or they took that, and it's not fair. If you're really, really serious about being a light worker, wanting to change the future of the world and fix everything, right the great wrongs. This is how we're going to do it. This really is. This is the big confrontation that they fear the most. So like I said, though, is unlike a militia, whatever, I don't have the wherewithal. I really do need people to spontaneously rise up and organize. And I do need people to get involved. So let me give out my email. First of all, they haven't taken that away from me. So far, so good. And that is law17gun at AOL.com. That's law17gun at AOL.com. Oh, what's this, Keith? Keith, did you want to say something? Or was that somebody else? Oh, Rodrigo, you're supposed to call in, not just type questions. Jeez. What can people who cannot attend being outside the U.S. do to assist in peaceful protest? Okay, Rodrigo. All right. Obviously, some people are not going to travel a great distance to come here, and even if you did, You would still have to formulate a team so that you could have a driver and such, like I mentioned earlier. But this message of everything has to be pushed. Now, my Getty video is out there. If you've noticed, I put some stuff together that I've been circulating here. Obviously, the Facebook images, if you haven't downloaded those, we're probably screwed until I figure out a different way to get those out there. Unless somebody builds me a web page, some wonderful, nice webmaster sets me up with a web page, and I can publish this stuff. Wink, wink. But aside from that, you got to push what's out there. Like, for instance, this show tonight, you have to be listening to the show. You have to be promoting this show. You have to be promoting the next show. You have to be listening to the next show. You have to be telling your friends about it. And you have to be disseminating the information. You have to be getting involved. And or sponsor somebody else to be involved. But ultimately, we do have to get bodies, and we have to get them out here to L.A. And it's not that big of a deal to come out here for a little vacation. I mean, even if we only do this for a day. But obviously, we would like to plan it to go for over a day at the very least. We'd like to make it so that they can't shut the gates on us. But at the same time, this is a huge deal. Like I said, from a risk standpoint, have no fear. Okay, please have no fear. Yes, we are dealing with a den of vipers, the most evil vipers you could possibly imagine. We will be occupying right on top of these things. But we want to have really positive energy, because that's like poison to these guys. And the more people that we can have, the better it can be. Now, more substantially, though, as far as being what you can do if you're not local, certainly your presence on Facebook and social media, and I don't care what you use, the most effectively use it, can be very effective. You have to talk about this stuff. You have to share everything. You have to engage other people in it. And drum up support, and again, shine that spotlight. And one thing that we really would like to do, and you guys can all help us do that, is to make this effort cool. We need to make this. We need to get the young people. We need to get everybody involved. I want to get as many of the militia types. Here in the urban areas, it's not quite the same. Obviously, we have gangsters. And I don't have a problem with getting gangsters if you guys want to come too, but please leave your guns home. You can't bring the guns, because that's not going to work. And of course, agent provocateurs, we have to be on the lookout for that. So this is no different than any other movement type situation. As far as anonymous is concerned, people that you're in the anonymous and what have you, obviously you know your skills better than I do, and you know what you can do, and I don't have to tell you what you can do. But that's what you need to do, and you need to focus on this general area. If you can help us in obviously in promoting, this is important. But also at the same time, any kind of attacks, we need to thwart any sort of attacks. And as far as actual offensive operations, you know what to look at. You know who we're talking about, so you can go to town on these people. In fact, anything that we can do to focus the spotlight of what it is. And again, when you're dealing with an enemy like this, all of the little details and what have you are really insignificant. What you need to do is you need to be dramatic. And in a situation like this, the most dramatic, emotional message that we can have is that they're killing children under this location. They're using this location as a place to where they gather the children, and they are transported directly from this location downstairs to where they are killed. And ungodly, unspeakable things are done with their bodies. And this is the only true message, the only message that really matters. And all of the other factors, it's like, oh, and by the way, while you're down there, you're going to notice that their technology is 100 years ahead of ours, and that everything is gold, and that they've stolen enough treasure to make you feel like you live in mud, which is essentially what you do compared to these people. But it doesn't matter, because you see, we have to appeal to the emotions of the people. to the masses, and we have to get them to use their sense of righteousness to essentially do it for the children. They need to do it for the children. How many times do they use that against us? Well, I'm not saying we're going to use it against them. But you see, the thing is, it's true. They really do this. They really do this. And in Los Angeles, oh my God, the number of people that go missing in Los Angeles, it's ungodly. It really is. So this is very important. All right, again, I'd like to invite whoever wants to call in, and if they have any questions whatsoever, or they want to tell me I'm crazy. I've had a few people call in that I've actually had to yell on because they're trying to be devil's advocate or whatever, and I'll try not to do that tonight as much as possible. If you want to, well, I don't have to keep you there, but I'll be polite as much as possible. Anyway, again, the call-in number is 928-202-4608. And, of course, if you want to Skype, you can't connect to me directly. You have to connect to either Keith here at Keith AZ or the network's server, which is Freedom Screen. All right. Okay, I really want this to happen soon. And I understand that this is a pretty... well, it may seem like a big deal, but again, the United States, well, not the United States, but let me just say Los Angeles itself, just metropolitan area Los Angeles, has 10 million, probably over 10 million just in that general area. And that's not really including the outlying areas either. So, and then of course within the state, there's quite a bit more. So within driving distance, there's well over 10 million people. Now, if a portion of those people were to consider themselves awake and angry and wanted to get involved in this, and this became the popular thing to do, this could be done. Even if it got to the point to where people actually had to walk up this hill, up that freeway, and converge on this area. Now, let me put some other scenarios out there. The way this fortress is set up, it actually has gun positions overlooking the entire plain of which is Los Angeles. All of those 10 million people I mentioned, practically. When you go up to the top of this hill and you stand out in the far points where they actually have the big gun positions, you could see that they could target everything. And you can clearly see Catalina, which they're connected to, of course, underground. And you can imagine that with a decent weapon, say a 16-inch gun, or even missiles for that matter, or a combination, they could pretty much cover anything within a substantial radius. And that's really the way it's been built, and that's what it's for. And the idea is that should the masses ever decide to rise up and converge on that point, they would be able to destroy everything below them, just like a fortress is supposed to. It really is a fort. You got to look at it. If you haven't looked at it, you got to look at it. If you just look at it on Google the Getty Center, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a big fortress. The other thing, of course, is that being that this is the ultimate bunker, and being that this actually does lead you to the entire underground system, which essentially is a not just a refuge, but a getaway from the area if you felt that you had to go in some other direction. One of the big reasons for them keeping this location secret, as well as keeping its ability to defend itself so well high, is because should there ever be a mega disaster, a tsunami, a nuclear disaster, something of this nature, some sort of horrific public happening, if it became, this facility was actually intended to provide a refuge for all the rich and famous. Well, when I say rich and famous, I mean the extremely rich and not necessarily famous, but the people who are connected to the point to where they do have access, those people will be bugging out over there, and we'll be left to fend to ourselves. And if we did try to converge in an area because of some guy like me saying, "Hey, everybody, this way to the bunker," they would have a shootout. That's when their little army would come into effect, and all the guns would come out and what have you, and all that travertine marble would be useful. And again, I could describe more about how they intend to fight everybody off that tries to assault this place, but we want to try to avoid that. And if we can catch them with their pants down and get a bunch of unarmed bodies in there when the castle front doors open. Well, it won't be the front doors per se, but the drawbridge. When the drawbridge is down, if we could get enough people in there, we'll be okay. So what do you think, Keith? Should we do it?
Well, we've got an army. There's so many of us and so few of them. And anywhere we want to bring our focus, we can make a change. I think we have to own our spiritual power and realize that we can make a difference. We can do this. We can really have it.
Yeah, we can have it. If we do this one thing, I know that we can have it. And I know we can succeed because I've seen the terror in these guys' faces when they confronted me about if I was going to actually do this. And this was years and years ago. And here we are now with this crap going down, and I'm like, okay, screw it. It's time. Only let's do it without guns. And I think this will work. I think if we go there without guns, and people go, oh, okay, let's say this. Okay, first of all, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to die for this. Okay, my head is on the chopping block right now. If you haven't figured that out, it is. And all these people who, I'd like to think there's nobody, but if there was anybody out there that thought I was some sort of a plant or whatever, fake, right? A shill, whatever the hell I would be. It's ridiculous because the things that I'm talking about are things that no one else is talking about, and they're things that are like practically, you would think, suicidal. If you're living in that fear perspective, it's like suicidal. This is like taking on the most extreme, powerful monster you can think of right at its front door to its secret lair. It's like we're not even supposed to know that door is even there. And to go right to that door and say, let us in your damn secret lair. We're going to tell the whole world about it. And that's and they're afraid. They're afraid that we're going to do this. What if even all the people that are working there go, oh, really? They're killing children down there? Oh, my God. You never know what can happen. Somebody wants to join? Let me see. Oh, gosh. Noreen just said something. I can't tell if she's trying to talk to me or no. Oh, Noreen said she'd like to go to the Getty. She'd like to be involved. Everybody would like to be involved. All right, Noreen, call into the show and tell us you'd like to be involved. Okay? Seriously, though, what I need to do, and you guys, the very fact that they kicked me off of Facebook should tell you how urgent this is. These guys are scared to death that I'm going to organize this and actually make this happen. They want this to go away. So you guys have got to make it happen. Even if I'm dead tomorrow, you've got to be able to take the information I've put out right now and make this happen without me. I should have been able. I don't even need to be here now. You guys have got the information. I've pointed you. I've told you where to go. I've told you how to keep the door open. I've told you how to get the bodies up there. I've told you where to stand. I've told you what to say. All you got to do now is do it and get together and do it, and don't bring guns and don't disrupt the art, and that's it. And if you come back and do it again, if you fail the first time, come back and do it again. Okay, hang on. Looks like what's going on here? We got okay. Noreen's here. Hi, Noreen.
Hey, I can't stay on too long, but I just want to say, you know me. I live around the area like you. So
you can do it.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can do it that day or not, I will do it. It'd be cool if we got people to go, hey, it'd be very interesting. Because the last time I was there, I went with family, like from out of town, and that was before I knew any of this stuff connected to the Getty. But, you have also educated us and informed us about that particular place and its relevance with all this information. So yeah, now I would see it in a completely different light. It would be really interesting. So we have to like think who wants to go. We'll just do it.
Well, it's going to be a lot of strangers. It's got to be.
Of course.
And of course, we don't want troublemakers naturally. And this is why I'm saying if everybody put together these little groups, because somebody has to get the people there. The people got to get there because you can't leave your car parked on the side of the freeway, and you're not going to put them in the Getty parking lot either.
So you're saying maybe it's good for us to like park our car kind of far. We're going to have to like carpool, park, and hike instead of leaving it in that standard lot that they have where you have to take the tram and all that. I see what you're saying.
Another thing we can do is if there's so many ways you could do this, but the bottom line is that we have to have people who are willing to drive other people to basically get them right there to the door, essentially. Everyone bails out and they drive off, and if they want, they could go pick up more people and repeat the process.
I see.
That would be the ideal, because that way we'd have no cars left to be, towed away or anything anywhere. And then, of course, what we'd have to be organized up to when it was time for everybody to go home, that we could ferry people back to some designated area or something of this nature, or, they could have their own designated ride set up to see. This is the thing. If we have a designated driver for all of these little cells, then that they gotta contact your designated driver. It's like, okay, we're, pick us up, we're ready to go.
I see. Yeah, that would just be like a strategy, you put together.
Yeah, that's one strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, one strategy. We got to keep the gate open. That's one strategy. Long enough for the people to get in there. Because once we do this, they'll shut the gate on us for sure. Okay. And once they shut the gate, then it's not the same, because obviously you can't, there's a good chance that they may not do that, but that's the only thing they can do to control the situation, shut the gate. Oh, okay. Rodrigo's going to join us. Because we don't want to be cutting through fences and barbed wire and all that stuff, because I'll tell you, when you look at the perimeter of that place, there are signs all over the place saying do not enter, guard dogs, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, Rodrigo, what's going on?
Hey, Stephen, how you doing?
All right. So anyway, you're in Australia, and obviously I know you're going to help out with whatever you can do, but what do you have to say?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got a couple of questions. First off is, let's say this happens. I would like
when
to
it happens,
to be able. Yes, when it happens. Yeah. What would be? How would new infrastructure be put into place? Because these are knocking out the people that are in control of the whole world.
How would infrastructure be put in place?
Is there any sort of idea of how we
Rodrigo,
get back on our feet?
You guys, let me tell you what's going to happen. It's going to be just like in the fairy tales. I'm going to go grab the sword and pull it out of the stone and put the little crown on, and you guys are going to go, ah. Does that answer?
I think we'll be able to sort it out. Yeah, we'll be able to sort it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if we have the American Revolution. What happened after the American Revolution? What did they do?
I'm not very familiar with
Well, I can tell you in a nutshell. They took the general and they said, "Hey, man, we want you to be king." And he said, "No, I'm not going to be your king." He says, "Okay, then we want you to be president." He says, "Okay, I'll be president for a little while." It's kind of going to be like that.
Right. So it seems like we got pretty strong confidence that something will be able to replace.
We're not worried about it. See, the thing is this is what's going to happen. Basically, let's say. I'm going to give you a best case scenario right now. Let's say this goes down. Let's say these guys completely give up without firing a shot because we've filled them with so much love that they just lay down and hand it over. Okay, that's best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
All of the gold in the world will be released to the surface. And we're talking about 98% of all the world. So in other words, 9,800% of whatever wealth there is in the world today will be increased by that much, by 9,800% across the board to everybody. All right, straight right away. Next, world hunger would be gone. Essentially, it would be gone. Free energy would become universal almost instantaneously, as well as communication, almost instantaneously. So as far as the disruption in people's ability to shovel money back and forth and what have you, first of all, all these so-called industries and what have you, the buggy whip manufacturers, if you will, they'll be put out of business. We're not worried about that. Yes, the petroleum industry will go away. The pharmaceutical industry will go away. All of that will get overhauled. The federal government, everything will get overhauled. There's going to be let me just say the good news with respect to all those people. We will not hang you. Okay? We're not going to hang you. All you guys with blood, all you dirty guys with blood on your hands for, fleecing the people, don't worry, we're not going to hang you. If your name is Rothschild, you're probably not going to do as well as everyone else. But let me just say this, all the rest of you, this all depends on everybody cooperating and not being violent. Violence will not come to you if you are not violent, and you have to be able to give up, and you will receive amnesty. But don't worry about it, because whatever wealth and material goods you feel like you're going to lose in this process, everything will be made up. Okay. Now, the thing that really keeps this thing underground working, and the reason why it's so successful, it's very similar. It's like the Masons and what have you. You first have to convince these people that they're better than everybody else. Okay, so in other words, before you ever get down into this stuff and you get to be one of them and you actually take residence down there, you've long become used to the concept that everyone on the surface is completely expendable, and they're really not worth much more than animals that you don't even care about, basically. So that's the real reason why we're doing this. At least that's the reason why I'm doing this, because I like animals, and I've decided to, take the side of all the people that live on the surface and try to prevent them from suffering. Now, I got to tell you, years and years ago, I decided to take my strategy and go away from trying to attack the Ageti and bringing the war directly to them, to a strategy of serving the people and teaching the people and healing the people, and basically taking care of their needs as opposed to fighting against their oppressor. Well, the only reason I'm doing this now is because we've got guys like the Bundys and what have you going out and taking it upon themselves to stir everyone up and force us into a martial law situation and a civil war with the government. As much as I respect their intentions for the most part, I can't sit here and allow them to do that without at least making an effort to actually cause something that will actually affect the change that needs to be affected without all sorts of necessary bloodshed and destruction. And this is what it's really all about. And I know people don't believe this crap, and they got to get past the whole ego nonsense, but the bottom line is that I am talking about people who have the technology. It's either psychic or alien or whatever the hell it is that allows them to see into the future enough to know that this is exactly what they have to be afraid of. They've seen it coming, but they're expecting a military conquest. They're not expecting a peaceful conquest. They are expecting a peaceful conquest now because they're listening to us right now. They've seen this stuff on Facebook. They know what's coming. They're totally aware. But the thing is that we're talking about a location that's open to the public. That drawbridge leading up to that road that leads up to that entrance to the underground, it's going to be open. And I'll tell you, even if they did close the drawbridge, what if we just blockaded the freeway right there? Well, then if you blockade the freeway, obviously, then the CHP and people are going to start arresting people. But that's the thing, though. If you converge on this place by foot, and remember, it's private property, they're not going to be able to use arbitrary laws to take you away, because even if there are substantial trespassing laws and what have you, you're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar foundation that is scared shitless of having to prosecute anybody for anything. Could you imagine all these people going to court and saying in court, why were you there? Because I'm trying to get the children free. Yeah, I think children freed.
Yeah, so I think rocking up and peacefully, something that they're not expecting. Okay, yeah. That's, probably now they are because they're probably listening. Obviously. But rocking up, and I was thinking of the potential outcomes. If they drew their weapons, media will be there, like, instantly on peaceful people. with the peaceful protest and they drew the weapons against whoever's there, media will be all over it, and then anything that happens after, it'll be broadcasted everywhere.
Yep.
So it'll definitely get the attention of the media and people around the world through the media. I'm just thinking worst case scenario, like you said, a nuke, but then obviously, again, back to the rest of the world knowing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it seems
one
like
way or the other, we've started it. We've started to change. See,
yeah.
This will light the fire. This is lighting the fuse that nobody wants to light. And one way or the other, we're moving into we're going to transition into the future. One way or the other, it's either going to be nuclear, it's going to be awful, they're going to do it horrible, or they're going to roll over and we're just going to take it over. And they're going to be like bugs, and they're going to scatter, and we're going to walk in there like superheroes with the power of light, and they're just going to scatter. That's what I think is going to happen. I really do think that's what's going to happen. I think that all the bluster and all these threats and this, what do we care? We have bombs. We'll blow everything up. Well, you know what? Even though they've been planning on doing that for over 100 years, I think when it comes time to push that button, I think if we're all sitting up there singing Kumbaya, they're not going to do it. This is like Gandhi. This is Gandhi.
Yes, this is what he did, right?
That's right.
And everyone being involved in instead of just one person. Can you imagine everyone?
Could you imagine if we got 10 million people in L.A.? Hell, that's just in L.A. That's on one side. There's the valley on the other side. If we got everybody to converge on that hill and walk up that hill, that's the one thing they're afraid of the most. They really do expect that. That's why they built it there. That's why they have those gates there. That's why they made it so you got to take a tram to get to the top. That's why it's covered in bulletproof material. That's why they've got gun emplacements all over the place. That's why they have an army housed there. Hell, the damn elevator door has a nuclear blast door to get onto the elevator. You know, I mean, crazy stuff like that. Why would they have that, right? It's like, explain that. We're only there because we want to rescue the children, but while we're here to rescue the children, explain the nuclear blast door leading to the elevator that goes a mile down, that doesn't use wires, that uses advanced Tesla technology. And while we're here, explain this room with all these Nazi psychics, or this golden adorned spa here with all these slaves and what have you. And oh, what's this city and these tube trains going to all four corners of the earth? What's that all about? And let's go see that satanic temple at the very bottom and show us where you keep the bodies and the children waiting to be sacrificed. You know, personally, I don't think we'll be able to live feed from underground. Right? So,
well, I'm beginning to think 15 years worth of study in this sort of in the occultist has sort of come down to the final level, I suppose.
This is it. This is
it. Yeah.
This is it. This is what they fear.
Seems like it is.
It is. This is it. This is destiny, because they basically came to me and said that this is what was going to happen, and they were trying to manage and control it. And you know, but they were talking about. I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that these guys were afraid of was the London fog raincoats with the Kevlar down to the knees. They were, you know, and I'll tell you something, okay? Anybody that has seen the movie The Matrix, the first one, where there's the big shootout where he packs all these guns and he goes through the metal detector and then he starts this big shootout, and there's those pillars that are covered with marble or something like this, and as they're shooting, you see this marble chipping away as they're having this big shootout, right? That scene right there is modeled after the entrance to the security center of the Getty. Trust me. In other words, if you were going to go and try to penetrate the security center, that's where that would happen, basically. That's why that's when you see that movie, that's what you got to think of, because there's a little walkway leading down into the entrance of the security area, and obviously we're not going to occupy that unless we get that far. But if you were trying to penetrate that area, say dynamically, if you will, you'd have a very tough time, because it's a very, very narrow corridor. It's it's got
not bottlenecked, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a total bottleneck. Yeah,
yeah.
And it's got those travertine walls right there. So yeah, it would be a very, very dangerous place to have to try to get through, and they'd hold you off right there, and that's just the entrance. And then, of course, it like a castle. I mean, obviously, the chances of you getting to the elevator, all they got to do is slam that big, giant, massive nuclear door, and nothing's getting down the elevator. And of course, if you were able to penetrate that, ultimately, they'd blow the whole damn thing up. What do they care? They're a mile or two underground. You could nuke the entire top of the mountain and take all of Los Angeles with it, and they'll be, happy and
safe
content.
And living under there.
Exactly. And, they can get out anytime they want because they've got the ability to dig a new tunnel. They can dig 7 miles in one day. So they can certainly dig a tunnel to the top if they ever wanted to. But
so it's not very hard to I was thinking of trapping them down there once it gets to that point. But if you say that they have the capability of getting back up.
You see, I also thought that if we really wanted to root them out, that in fact, Keith, you're the one I think that was talking about this, that the world would just have Mother Earth would have an earthquake and crack and allow the ocean to flow in there and flood it all. That's what you were saying, huh, Keith?
I don't remember if I said that. It's an interesting idea. Now, don't they have connecting tubes?
Yes, they do have tubes. You don't remember any of that?
So they'd be able to get out of there.
Well, of course they can get out of there, but you see, this is the thing. From the Getty itself, they have at least one tube that goes to Edwards. We know that because Prince Andrew used it.
Prince Andrew, yep.
Getty, yeah. There's another tube that goes out to Catalina Island, which of course is 26 miles off the coast. And from Catalina, they have apparently they have a submarine base as well as a UFO type base, and that's a very important transit point. Also, we're seeing so much evidence right now of these massive underwater structures off the coast of Malibu, up there off of Point Mugu. I know you guys you've probably seen that. It's really easy to see if you look at Google Earth. So there's quite a few facilities that we know of in just the Southern California area that are probably connected via these tubes. And the way these things work is they tend to radiate like spokes from a central location. Usually the central location is a large cavernous area, kind of an atrium type thing that they set up, which I suspect probably makes up for the lack of outdoors. If you're going to be in a cave, you want to have one that's got a ceiling that's huge, apparently, and very well lit. It takes away claustrophobia, I suppose. What do you think? Yeah? I heard that one of the biggest problems with the underground living was the lack of sunlight. And when I talk about lack of sunlight, it's not really the photons per se, because you can simulate photons with certain lights, of course, the various different colors and spectrums and heat values. But what you don't get is a certain amount of the information. Okay, and we've talked about this a lot with from a metaphysical standpoint. But in fact, we talked about this the other night, I think, Rodrigo. But the scalar information that comes from source also comes to us from the sun and any other big ball of mass like this, because that's the nature of mass. It transmits this source information, and they're probably getting it electronically somehow, because they're certainly, if they're in a big cave underground, they're not getting it directly from the sun. It's not really penetrating the ground per se. And I've heard that you could have like a copper plate in the sunshine and then have a wire hooked up to that copper plate running down into, say, a basement that will connect to another copper plate. And the energy coming off of that copper plate in the basement will actually be sufficient to grow a plant even in the darkness. So there's something there's some sort of information that's affecting the DNA that's being supplied that isn't even visible electronically through, or electromagnetically coming from the sun. Anyway, something to consider. So yeah, that was an issue with that. And I'll tell you, because I was in the electro-optics industry, obviously I was exposed to a lot of these things. And I remember in some of the engineering magazines, I remember one in particular, they're posing, the problem that they were trying to suggest was how to get raw sunlight into deep underground locations. And they're exploring all these different things, from reflecting it to using fiber optics to light pipes and all these things, because it's not the same as it's like a window that's got a big screen TV sitting there and it's projecting pictures of fields of flowers. It's not quite the same thing. Like I said, you do need to have this scalar information coming from source to keep you going on down there. What do you think about that, Keith? Put you on the spot here.
I was monitoring chat. What was the question?
Was chat having anything to say it's important, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, people are posting links to underground tunnels and stuff like that. And
cool.
Actually, I was thinking about it. I do think there are potential for earthquakes and such. It wouldn't surprise me if even a possible invasion from underneath them of reptilians, but that's kind of
that too. That's a whole nother issue unto itself. But you see, the thing is like this is like, and this is culturally speaking right now, because again we're talking big tent, right? We're trying to get as many people involved as possible, and everybody, don't worry. You don't need to know all the details. It's like, because it really is overwhelming if you get into it. Just be happy to know that if we do this, we will defeat the bad guys. This is like the big secret, it's like in the movies that James Bond always does that one thing that takes out the bad guys, but this is it. All right. So this is what we need to know. Yeah, it is. This is the one thing that we can do. The one thing that we can do in history that they've been waiting for 100 years. And here it is. We're going to get to do it. Only because I decide now's the time. But
what I find interesting is that the consciousness and the awareness of it's coming out, I suppose, in recent times, in the last few months. I've only recently just been starting to listen to you, Stephen. But if it exponentially grows with the spreading of information, surely it's got to happen.
Mm-hmm. We can make this happen. It has to happen. Mm-hmm. It's just, and like with shutting down the Facebook, that's a major blow to the effort. Okay, because like Rodrigo, when we were talking last night, I don't know if anybody's paying attention to my Facebook, but I was posting the crap out of this stuff. And I was doing stuff that was blatantly no. For instance, all of the photos of the Getty that I've been posting, you're not supposed to do that. I mean, if you go to there on vacation, you go, oh, here's my vacation photos, you can get away with that stuff. But if you're doing it for the purposes that I'm doing it, they have everything in their wherewithal to make that not happen. But if Facebook is shutting me down because of that, and there's always a possibility that that's not what it was, and it doesn't really matter what it was because they want to do this. They could have done it. They're not going to say anything about it, and they're not going to publicize it. They're certainly not going to take me to court. So we just need to get more people involved. And you're right, it's got to be exponential. And right now, you've got to step up. This is the time. I mean, it's on right now. My Facebook page is down. If that doesn't tell you that it is on right now, there's nothing more I can tell you, because it's like they have practically taken away my ability to tell you what to do. So if you're not listening to this show, you're kind of dependent on the people who are listening to this show. So this is why the show's called Marching Orders, because I'm giving you your marching orders right now. I'm telling you what to do. I'm telling you to get together, to form cells of people you can trust as quick as possible. And make sure that when you do this and you have that plan, that one person's going to drop you off, and someone's going to have to decide to block that gate, and everybody's going to have to be like a flash mob. They're going to have to move, and they're going to have to be quick. Get as many people as they can in the door. That's really what it's all about. We got. If this is so simple, and it's like how many protests have there been in history, and that's training for this one. Okay.
Just to point out for people who can't do anything physically, like for myself, being in Australia, if you're on Facebook and you want to defend Stephen and actually mention to Facebook on your disgust at his page being taken down or his actual personal account being blocked, if you go to the top right, there's a little downward arrow, click on report a problem, and then click on something isn't working, because I tried general feedback and that just took me to a bunch of FAQs, but something isn't working, and then basically just, mention your distaste for what's occurring. That's what I did earlier on today.
That's not all you can do, but
yeah, you can't really contact Facebook any other way.
Well, if enough people do it, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, but it is a war. Again, it is a war. I'm at war. I have no plans for R&R vacation. This is a war. I certainly plan on being involved in doing this, and I don't think about what's going to happen to me afterwards. Or hell, let me just say this. I'll tell you what, guys. I've had computer attacks recently, which have been taken care of. But just recently, I've had this getting shut down. This is probably the most significant thing, getting shut down on Facebook. But even today, I could tell things were a little screwy. It's almost like there's an electronic attack going on. I feel like there's a little bit of, they've stepped up an assault, electronic assault, if they do that sort of thing. I could detect that. Also, the dogs have been freaking out. Henry in particular, the male dog, has been freaking out like there were things here that you can't see. So... Oh, that's the other thing, of course, is that here's the other thing you can all do. This is all very important, as Keith, you'll agree, is that you need to send me energy right now. I actually, because of this, when things are bad and when I'm under a little extra attack, the positive vibes, the positive energy is very, very helpful because when you ask for protection from me, I get protection. It's like an army. I've always enjoyed a lot of protection every time I ask, but this is one of those times when I just want to get as many reinforcements as possible. So all of you that are out there, again, even your energy and your intentions and your positive thoughts can do so much, not only just to protect myself and all the other people that get involved in this project, but it can also have a very, very definitive effect on the entities, and the bad guys that are actually there at the Getty. Because obviously, when we go there, we want to win hearts and minds. We want the people with the guns to lay down their guns. We want the people controlling the doors to open the doors. We want them to realize that we're right, and that they want to repent or whatever it is, but they're going to realize that they're going to choose our side. And this is a very powerful thing, and I think that we can do this. But again, we have to make it happen. So I did give out my email earlier. I'm going to give it out one more time, and this is only for the purposes if I can do anything to help people organize. And again, we want to do this in such a way that has as much security as possible, but you got to be brave here. You got to have a lot of faith. And my email, again, is law17gun@aol.com. That's LAW17GUN@aol.com. Okay, so I hope you're writing that down. I got to take advantage of this opportunity here also to remind people, because there's not a lot of time left in the show, that Revolution Radio, of course, is 100% listener-supported. We do also depend on your donations. So do what you can to help us out with your PayPal, your credit card, or your checks. And obviously, without having the Facebook, certainly this particular forum has become that much more important. And if anything, I would like to think that because of the events with Facebook and whatnot, people understanding that this is for real, that they will be listening now, wondering what the hell to do and looking for marching orders. So I'm not trying to be king here, guys. I'm just trying to tell you what they told me they don't want you to do. Okay? This is what they don't want you to do. This is what they don't want you to do because they know it will kill them and it will cause their empire to collapse. So we can do this. We can stop all the negative timeline. We can stop it all. Because if we do this and we fail, it's all going to go to hell. real quick. But if we don't fail, everything will change overnight. And it'll be like somebody turned on the light switch. It'll be so much better. It'll be so much better that you can't even comprehend how much better it'll be. And I just hope that people don't look upon this as some greedy exploit, because if you look at this as a pirate, if these are nothing but pirates showing up at the Getty and you wanted to loot this place, well then, yeah, this is the most awesome treasure on earth. But that's not what we're here for. This is not a stupid movie like these Nicolas Cage movies where they find the treasure of the Templars and it's these vast rooms full of gold. Yeah, even if it was vast rooms full of gold, it's not what this is all about. It's about saving the whole world. And it's about having the power to do it. And, prophets, people don't listen to prophets, right? Well, I'm telling you this right now, and hopefully we're going to get this thing recorded, and we're going to get out there in the public really soon. So this is another way you can help, is by sharing the hell out of this thing once it's out on YouTube. And again, trying to network. You've got to take it upon yourself, no matter where you are, to get your friends together and try to network. This is kind of like Anonymous or Occupy or any sort of movement. I don't really care where you are, but this is hashtag Occupy the Getty. So start pushing the hashtag, make it big. Make this thing so big that the Getty is freaking out. Even before we do this, the media is going to say, what the hell is this hashtag Occupy the Getty business? All right? How hard is that, everybody? So... anyway, we don't have any other questions from anybody. Does anybody in chat have any questions, Keith? You want to know how you can give me money? Huh?
Well, one of them, somebody just asked, you've been down under the Getty, is that correct?
You don't get down under the Getty. You only get, the closest you get to going down under the Getty is the elevator. That's it. You go down under the Getty. If you go down under the Getty, how many levels, the best you're going to do is you're going to get to the elevator. You're going to see the entrance to the huge, huge elevator with a big, giant blast door to the elevator. You don't go down the elevator. That's like going to Area 51 and going down the elevator. You don't go down the elevator. If you do go down the elevator, you don't come back. That's basically how that works. So in this mission, our objective is not to go down the elevator on the first day. Okay? We just want the world to know that there is an elevator there. That's what we want to do. And if they say there isn't an elevator, that we're all crazy, we want them to prove it. This is our objective. We're trying to pry the lid off the can of worms. We're trying to get the media to focus. We want the whole world to be looking at this thing. We're going to be poised at the can opener, ready to crack the top, and we want everybody to be looking at it when we do it. This is the only way we can pull this off. But as far as actually going down there, hell no, I haven't been down there. The only way that I've actually seen what's going down there is with remote viewers, which are pretty accurate. And quite a few people, I know a few psychics who have checked it out, but we know what's down there. And the point is that they know what's down there. And they are afraid, terrified that all of us will find out what's down there.
Well, you've also had some of your contacts tell you this, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, sure. I mean, I've dealt with these people firsthand. I've sat across the table to them and, more than once. But I mean, it's like, yeah, I've actually dealt with one of them, for sure, who was none other than the trust fund manager for the Getty. And not only did this guy, actually see what's down there under the Getty, he also went to the island of Malta, went through a Templar initiation, and got to see the head of St. John in a jar. I mean, come on, people. It's like next thing they're going to want to know if I've seen a damn UFO or ridden in one and piloted one. No, you don't need to. It doesn't matter. The point is that this thing is right there in the middle of the public. It's right there. And it's weak. It's weak as hell. And we occupy it. That's all we got to do. Yes.
Stephen, Simply Red 777 asked, do we need to bring signs or just bring themselves? And if we do bring signs, what should they say?
Well, we could certainly bring signs. I would say if we're going to bring signs, it'd say free the children, something like that. See, and this is the thing. Even if the message is tongue-in-cheek, people, even if it's tongue-in-cheek, it has to be uniform. It can't be free the Hammonds or stop the BLM or go to hell Obama or Benghazi. You know, I mean, sure, there's a lot of things we'd like to say. We all have agendas. We all have things that we need to fix. But right now, what we're doing is this is a PR campaign. We are controlling the dialogue. Because remember, there's a lot of people in this country who are controlled. They're under the spell of the TV. We're going to take control of that, and we're going to take control of their minds. And how are we going to do that? We're going to use their emotions. Save the children. What children? What children? The kidnapped children. What? What kidnapped children? The ones that are under this facility. They're under here right now. Where? They're down there. Why are they there? Because this is where they take them. How do you know? Because we all know. Everybody knows. How come you don't know? Go there. Look for yourself. That's all we have to do. And we have to stick together. And, you know, it doesn't matter what our agendas are and what the reality is. That's what we have to say. That is our message. That is our soundbite. It's not end the Fed, even though that's what we want to do, or hang the Queen or whatever. No, save the children. See? That's it. Save the children. What children? I'll tell you, there's a lot more than just children down there, but how many 100,000 people go missing just in the streets of LA every year? Think about that. Where do you think they are? Seriously, where do you think they are? You know? Come on. That's where they are. Even if they're not there, it doesn't matter. We're going to access their secret bunker, and they can't do that. They cannot allow the light of day to see the secret palace that was built for the Queen underneath American territory. They can't do that. Because the thing is when you go underground, it's not the United States anymore. It's something else. It's the New World Order. There is a New World Order, and it's underneath us. There are no borders underneath us. You go down a mile, there's no borders. It's not California anymore. It's not the United States. When you take a tunnel and you come up in Nevada, you think they care about state lines? They don't. Hell, you take a tunnel and you go under the ocean and come up in London, they don't give a damn about what country it is. Hell, and I was telling Rodrigo the other night, all these countries, anybody that has the treaty, the security treaty with the NSA is under the control of the NSA. And all of those countries that have bases like Australia has got, what's the big base in Australia, Rodrigo?
Pine Gap.
Pine Gap, right. That's just one of them, I believe, one of their big, huge underground locations. And that's hooked up. Of course it's hooked up. These things span continents, these trips. Oh, that's the end of the show. All right, everybody, if you want to help me out personally, it's Stephen Kelley, 714@gmail.com. Send me a donation. That's STEVENKELEY, 714@gmail.com. Thank you very much. God bless. Spread the word. Help me out. And again, contact me right away and try to get involved. This is for real.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Thank you. Adios. Good night. God bless.
Listening to Revolution Radio.